Ladies and gentlemen, we have a trade. Thanks. I hate it. I hate it. Okay, I am a Mitch Garver guy, so we'll get that out of the way. Mitch is definitely one of my favorite players who are on the Twins. However, if you follow this channel, if you've been following my analysis this offseason, I have had a very nobody's off limits in a trade for pitching. For established major league pitching, the Twins have a very nice situation going on with their lineup, with their position players, and obviously massive holes in the rotation. So that being the case, as much as I love Mitch Garver, I could see the logic behind him as a potential trade candidate, just with things being the way they are. However, even though shortstop is certainly a position of need for this organization right now, in the immediate sense for sure, most definitely, and potentially in the long-term sense too. I've also talked a lot this offseason about not making room for a shortstop. You don't want to leave that unaddressed because you've got Royce Lewis or Austin Martin or this guy or that guy, because sticking at shortstop is such a difficult thing to do. A lot of guys are shortstops in the minor leagues. There's a lot of shortstop prospects that can't hack it at the position at the major league level. So I'm not anti-trading Garver completely. I'm not anti-trading for a shortstop completely. I really don't like this trade, though. I really don't. And to sort of illustrate, I think the best way I can illustrate how bad I don't like this trade, I would have preferred, and I do not like this guy. This is one of the most dislikable, I think, players that the Twins have had in many years. I would have preferred that they had signed Andrelton Simmons and either kept Mitch Garver or traded him for pitching, if they were kind of dead set on trading Garver. And I know the Twins did. The whole trade is Mitch Garver goes to Texas, Isiah Kiner-Falefa comes to Minnesota. The Gold Glove shortstop, not taking anything away from him. He is extremely offensively limited. Not a guy who brings a whole lot to the table with his bat, but a great defensive shortstop. And they're also acquiring a right-handed pitcher, Ronnie Henriquez. Great. Like I said, they need pitching, more pitching. That's great. Established pitching is what they need, though. They have plenty of these little wild card guys. They have a lot of other guys that are right on the verge of the big leagues or in AAA or in AA. They didn't, boosting the pitching prospect crop is not a concern to me. I think they're pretty well set there. Now, you can never have too much pitching. And certainly not going to, say that Ronnie Henriquez being involved in this trade is meaningless, but it doesn't do much for me, to be honest, because I feel like getting more of these guys that might be something it shouldn't really be a big motivation for this organization right now. They need established pitching. Where are the innings coming from in 2022? I would have been fine with them trading Mitch Garver for pitching, as much as I love Mitch Garver. This I don't understand. I really don't. I would have rather that they signed a shortstop. They needed a shortstop. Don't get me wrong. I think, Jorge Polanco is arguably the best player on the team, and putting him in a position to get the most out of him, which I think we can all agree is second base, makes sense. If you want to maximize his value without sort of, taking into your inadequacies. We need a shortstop. Well, we could just move Polanco back to shortstop. That maybe, but you're kind of sacrificing, again, arguably your best player potentially, getting less out of him. So I certainly understand the logic of getting a shortstop, a guy who doesn't have any questions about whether he can play the position at the major league level. Isiah Kiner-Falefa is a very good defensive shortstop. I don't want to lose sight of that either. I just think this was a poor use of assets. And a lot of people kind of are trying to paint this that Garver was some kind of extra piece and that Ryan Jeffers is on his same level. I mean, Ryan Jeffers has more upside than we've seen, certainly. But the gap between what Mitch Garver has done at the major league level and what Ryan Jeffers has done at the major league level is massive, okay? Massive. Again, it's not to the point where I wouldn't have traded Garver, but I don't think that some people are basically painting this like the Twins' catching position isn't any worse off, going down from basically Garver and Jeffers as the first team to Jeffers and Rortvedt as the first team. And I'm somebody who's loved Ben Rortvedt. Throughout his whole minor league career, I always had him ranked higher than anybody. So I do really love this team's catching depth that they had. It was a position of strength. It was a logical place for them to go to in a trade for pitching. I don't get this. I really don't. I'm frustrated that, maybe there's some moves coming. It's hard to see, now that Carlos Rodon and Clayton Kershaw are off the free agent market. Not that we really had any high expectations that the Twins were potentially going to land one of them. The starting pitching market is incredibly thin. So now that that's the case, now that you've traded Mitch Garver, one of your better trade pieces, in my opinion, you just hindered your ability to potentially add impact established pitching by trading away Mitch Garver. Okay, you've solved your shortstop position, but you have not addressed your starting pitching position, and now you've traded away from your main position of strength in the lineup. And I've seen some people say, hey, we're trading a guy who's, a 31-year-old catcher who's been injured quite a bit for a 27-year-old guy. Hey, that's a positive development there. Catchers are going to get hurt a lot. Ryan Jeffers is probably going to get hurt. Ben Rortvedt's probably going to get hurt. That's the nature of the position, and a lot of Mitch's injuries were weird, sort of catchery injuries. And he's a good enough bat that you could have mixed him in at first base or DH and had him catch less, if you really like Ryan Jeffers as much as a lot of people are kind of leading on. And the other thing, too, there is, Kiner-Falefa is younger than Mitch Garver. They have the exact same amount of team control. Both of these guys are free agents in 2024, so it's not like you got some player who's going to be in the organization any longer. You gained zero team control between those two major league assets. Now I want to circle back to that comment I made about Simmons, who, again, I do not like him. I was excited to see that he'd signed with the Cubs because that meant he wasn't going to be on the Twins. But Simmons has better career numbers at the plate than Falefa does. And again, they're both very good defensive shortstops. So maybe at this point, you'd think Kiner-Falefa at his age is going to be the better bet to be an elite defensive shortstop going forward. I would agree with that. Definitely. But they're about the same guy with the bat overall. Simmons had a horrible 2021 season, but he has a 683 career OPS. That's an 88 OPS plus. Kiner-Falefa has a 670 career OPS. That's an 81 OPS plus. And last year he hit 271 with a 312 on-base percentage, a 357 slugging. That's a 670 OPS and an 85 OPS plus. His first year as an everyday shortstop after kind of playing some third base, catching earlier in his career. I don't know, man. I don't like it. You let me know. Again, I would have been all right trading Garver for pitching. I'm fine with Kiner-Falefa, on his own. I think hopefully the Twins lineup is good enough to where they can kind of shoulder having a good defensive shortstop who's going to help out run prevention, but who's not really going to provide a whole much offensively. So I think, he fits in just fine. There were many other avenues in which they could address shortstop. If this team was serious about trying to actually compete, they would be in the market for Trevor Story. I'm not saying Carlos Correa. I'm not going crazy. But if you're legitimately trying to compete, like the Twins want us to believe, Trevor Story shouldn't be out of the question, and it's very frustrating. I haven't had a lot of time to look into Ronnie Henriquez. I'm sure there's a lot of things to like about him. But again, I don't see the value in adding yet another unestablished pitcher to a organization that has a lot of them. And, you need a whole lot of pitching prospects to get any to develop. A lot of them don't make it. So We shall see. I really don't like this trade. I don't know if I made that clear. Thank you for watching. We'll talk again soon.